Dear Mr. Biden, I'm one half of a conservative YouTube channel called Blue Collar Logic. I didn't vote for you, but I accept that you are now the President of the United States. We've lost well over 5,000 subscribers because I did not join the chorus who will never admit that you could possibly have been elected legitimately. These are the same people who mocked Democrat voters who said that Donald Trump was not their president. We only have one president at a time, and whether I like it or not, at this time, that president is you. In your inaugural address, you spoke at length about unity. I suspect that your chief concern is to unify your own badly divided party. I'm sure you remember that your candidacy was seen as a body block to the radicals represented by Sanders, Warren, and the Squad in the House of Representatives. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that you also want the ideological rift in this country to become less toxic. I know I do. Let me pause here and say goodbye to another 100 subscribers. It's been real. We've all been in our ideological bubbles. Until we begin to really understand the minds of those with whom we disagree, we have little hope of becoming a unified America. I'm willing to listen to your ideas about that. But as a guy who is in touch with tens of thousands of politically active conservatives, I also want you to hear our thoughts. I hope that any Biden voter watching this will invest 8 minutes and hear me out. So this is episode 1 of Unity Tips for Joe. Tip number 1, stop implying that everybody who didn't vote for you is a racist. I watched you on the campaign trail, Joe, and you called Donald Trump a racist many, many times. What do you think his voters inferred from that? Your proof was comments he made after the Charlottesville incident. So let's focus on that. Now, maybe you were as siloed as the rest of America and got your Trump news from heavily edited videos on CNN, in which case you might not have been lying like a dog-faced pony soldier. You might be that rare politician who at least tries to be honest. But in any case, you were dead wrong about President Trump's remarks on that awful day. So let's break it down. The controversy over the statue of Robert E. Lee in Charlottesville had already been going on for a year and a half, since March 2016, when you were just up the road serving as vice president. Surely you knew about that. The vice mayor of Charlottesville proposed taking down the statue and renaming the park. Protests going in both directions ensued. The statue was vandalized a number of times, including being spray painted with the slogan, Black Lives Matter. It's fair to say that racial tensions had been flaring there for quite some time. The demonstration that was scheduled for August 12th, the day that turned violent and then tragic, was a legally permitted event. A group of white supremacists calling themselves Unite the Right hoped to attract conservatives from all over the country. They managed to scrounge up about 200. That is the number of people who deserve your scorn, not the 74 million who voted for Donald Trump last November. In fact, given the insignificant number of Republicans who showed up for that neo-Nazi rally, you could say that the right is united against white supremacy. I'm sure we could find 200 communists who voted for you. You may remember another election year. In 1978, you were running for your second Senate term, and the ACLU was defending the right of Nazis to march in Skokie, Illinois. Because the right to peacefully assemble is protected by the First Amendment. The good people of Charlottesville granted those tiki torch clowns a permit because they were honoring our Constitution, not the ideas expressed. The counter-protesters who showed up to shut them down, with violence if necessary, did not have a permit. August 12th was a tragic day, but you didn't tell the whole story to your potential voters. The people of Charlottesville who wanted the statue to stay up and those who wanted it taken down had been peaceably working it out for 17 months. Those are the people President Trump referred to as fine people. You don't like white supremacists. I don't like white supremacists. And as Donald Trump has said many, many times, he doesn't like white supremacists. On our YouTube channel, we very rarely see a comment that expresses a racist worldview. When we do, that person is already getting blowback from other viewers. Donald Trump and his supporters never showed anything but warmth and fellowship to Black Americans who came to an event. You know that's true, Joe. If any Black person had ever been disrespected at a Trump rally, you would never have stopped mentioning it. But it never happened. Why? If it were true that Trump welcomed only white people, how could this have happened? The reason that more African Americans don't look into the Republican Party is because your party never stops firing up the tensions that you then blame on Republicans. Your party never stops telling Black people that half of the country wants them to fail. Can you imagine the psychological damage that does? I understand why people don't like for white supremacists to gather. But if several hundred Democrats had not shown up in Charlottesville that day carrying sticks and bats, the racists would have said their piece and gone home looking ridiculous. The hostility would not have escalated, and the young woman who died would be alive today. You spoke a lot about unity at your inauguration, but you also spoke about truth.
Dignity, respect, honor, and yes, the truth. Recent weeks and months have taught us a painful lesson. There is truth and there are lies. Lies told for power and for profit. And each of us has a duty and a responsibility as citizens, as Americans, and especially as leaders who have pledged to honor our Constitution and protect our nation, to defend the truth and defeat the lies.
To defend the truth and defeat the lies. I'm on board with that 100%. I can't see how the unity we both want can ever happen if we all don't strive to tell the truth. But I'm not a Democrat. So let's listen to a man who not only voted for you, but publicly endorsed you, Alan Dershowitz. He too wants unity. So he asked his viewers to weigh in on what you could do to encourage it. Here he is responding to a caller on his YouTube channel this past week. The call and its answer inspired this video.
Professor Dershowitz, hello. Thanks for the opportunity to pass along a positive, unifying suggestion to President Biden. During the campaign, Joe Biden explained to the public why he began his journey to the presidency. It was in the aftermath of the Charlottesville tragedy when President Trump said there were, quote, very fine people on both sides. And Joe Biden publicly stated as part of his campaign that President Trump was describing neo-Nazis and Klansmen as very fine people. Almost everyone in America saw Joe Biden say this, but a significant number of Americans also know that he omitted the rest of President Trump's remarks, including, quote, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists because they should be condemned totally, unquote. As a result of Joe Biden's statement, there are two very large groups of people in this country. One large group only heard what Joe Biden said. They probably believe that Trump and Trump's voters supported neo-Nazis and white nationalists. The other large group knows that Joe Biden omitted Trump's remarks condemning neo-Nazis and white nationalists. They probably believe that Joe Biden intentionally omitted Trump's anti-Nazi remarks so as to falsely paint Trump and by extension his voters as pro-Nazi. So my request, I ask that President Biden issue a clarifying statement. I believe this will go a long way towards reconciling millions of people on opposite sides of the political divide. One large group will learn that Trump condemned neo-Nazis and white nationalists. The other large group will see that President Biden has corrected the record.
Well, that really is an A-plus answer. It's fantastic. And I agree with you 100%. But it's the fault of the media. If you watch CNN, you heard one speech. If you watched Fox, you heard another speech. We live at a terrible time when everybody is entitled to their own facts, and you're not entitled to your own facts. You're only entitled to your own opinion, but it has to be based on the same facts. President Trump said there were fine people on both sides of the debate as to whether to tear down monuments and statues. He was right. There are fine people on both sides of that debate. I know some of them. I'm related to some of them in the South. My wife's family comes from South Carolina. I know fine people who don't think statues should be torn down. I am one of those fine people. I don't think statues should be torn down. It's un-American to tear down a statue. And I completely agree that it would be a very good thing for President Biden at an appropriate occasion to say, look, here's what President Trump said. This was important because this is what led me to run. This is what he said. He should have said this. I think President Trump should have done more. He should have done more to condemn the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists. There are arguments that people can make that there were dog whistles and that he didn't want to condemn, and what he said later about Proud Boys. There are ambiguities and there's criticism that can be made, but you cannot simply make up a story that says that President Trump ever said there are fine people on the side of Nazis or white supremacists. That's just a lie.
It took a lot of guts for Professor Dershowitz to say that. The man has character. He stands up for the truth no matter how much pressure he gets from other Democrats. I join him and his caller in asking you to do the same. So that's it for this installment of Unity Tips for Joe. I hope that you and I will both take your advice and that we will all stop slandering and scapegoating each other for profit or power. See you next time. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.